I'm meeting today with Juan Becerra of Panther Investigations, and we're very grateful because we've set up several interviews with Panther Investigations, and we're going to get to know them in some depth, and they've really gone to great lengths to tell us a lot about what a private investigator can do for you. So in Juan's case, what are you going to tell us about?
Well, Panther is a unique agency in that we are able to provide professional service to you in an investigative field. But what makes us separate and different from most agencies is that we bring to bear a great number of experience, years of investigative experience that relates to the investigator as a whole, relating to any case, whether it's a forensic accounting case, whether it's a family law case, a divorce case, whether it's a fraud case, real estate fraud, white-collar crime case. Those are all the resources that we can bring to bear based on our former law enforcement experience. And on any case that walks in through the door, we can use that investigative experience to better enhance your investigations.
A lot of people don't realize that, because someone has a private investigator's license, that doesn't necessarily mean one has to have had a background in law enforcement. I think a lot of people wouldn't be surprised to learn that private investigators have a law enforcement background, that they were formerly in law enforcement, but I think some people don't realize how easy it is to get an incompetent private investigator. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the things to look out for, and again, what distinguishes your agency from some of the others, perhaps?
For us, we believe that accountability to our client is probably one among the most important. We feel that we can work within their budget. Not everybody has an unlimited amount of money and an unlimited amount of resources that they can provide to us as investigators. Obviously, we are a business. We are in it to make a living, but we want to make an honest living and provide to our clients the very best service based on our knowledge and our experience.
There's going to be some people that lick their lips and rub their hands together and go, oh, great, I don't have to pay you very well. What do you say to people like that? Because frankly, there's a lot of people that are looking for the cheapest service that they can find, or at least the cheapest services offered. What do you say to that?
Sometimes getting the cheapest service ends up costing you more in the long run. It's better to pay a reasonable amount for an investigation and receive a quality product than to buy something cheap and end up having to pay more in the long run to have the case reinvestigated, which is something that we have seen in our experience.
And in my line of work, I know that sometimes you only get one shot. If you're trying to find out if somebody is cohabiting so that you can terminate alimony, once your private investigator or your investigator gets made, then it's all over, because they are aware of what's going on and they can cover their tracks and make it so that there's not enough evidence.
No question, and that, as it relates to family law, that comes up quite often. For example, we had a lady come to us on one occasion, and she said, I need to know two things. First of all, am I going crazy, or is my husband cheating on me? And she trusted us to take her case, and within 3 to 4 days, we had conclusively found that this individual was, in fact, having an adulterous relationship after 46 years of marriage, which is tragic, but at the same time, it helped her to have peace of mind. That peace of mind is what we bring to bear in the investigative experience, in that we were able to surreptitiously investigate, find out what that lady needed to know in order to let her life move forward.
Without being detected, so that in the event that he was innocent, she could have said, well, I don't like the idea of being suspicious, but now I have peace of mind, and my husband doesn't need to know that I had him followed.
Exactly.
Yeah, because
that's exactly right.
as I pointed out, I've seen some situations where people have hired a private investigator who didn't know how to tail somebody properly or didn't know how to remain inconspicuous, and it was figured out, and the two that were getting together for their rendezvous just kind of basically said abort, and there was just not enough information there. And then after that, he or she, whoever it was that was having the affair, was on notice of what was going on and just either broke it off or just got better at keeping it underground. Now, you mentioned forensic accounting. That comes up in family law more and more often. People are becoming more aware of forensic accounting, and people can say, I believe, especially if you've got a self-employed spouse or somebody with a side job, they can hide things. Even if you're employed in a W-2 employee, there are ways of hiding your income. Can you tell us a little bit about, it doesn't have to be in a family law setting, but tell us a little bit about how the forensic accounting can be conducted and what benefits that bestows.
Well, at Panther, we've developed a group or a team of law enforcement investigators who have the experience and know what to look for in a forensic accounting setting, where people are either hiding assets or laundering assets or disguising them to create an illusion that they are not receiving the monies that they're receiving, or putting them in shelf companies that are going to be used to hide assets. Part of those, for example, on one occasion that we did work, was an individual who was receiving kickbacks from a contractor. He was part of a major construction company, and as we found out about these kickbacks, these are also areas where a forensic accountant can become a very considerable asset in that type of investigation.
Now, is that something where you will do that below the radar, or is that something after you've gotten approval from a court to start investigating and to walk in and pick up documents and take hard drives and things like that?
Well, a lot of what we do much like surveillance in a very surreptitious manner. There are various techniques that we have learned over the years in our investigative experience. However, it does help when you are working with a competent attorney who has subpoena power to obtain documents, bank documents, and bank accounts. But there are ways to do it using open source materials that are available because we live in an information age, and because of the advent of computers, the internet, and other things, it is considerably harder to hide assets. And so we pride ourselves on being able to find those assets and to bring to bear those issues that need to be brought before the court or before an attorney before they go to court.
You mind me asking just a little bit about, for people that might think, am I crazy, or is my spouse having an affair, or I know that my spouse is doing something wrong, but he or she is good at hiding it, and I don't want the court to, one, think that I'm the lying, non-credible person, or number two, I need to make sure I get what I deserve, and unless I have this evidence, I'm not going to get what I deserve. How much does it cost? How long does it take? How, you mentioned that you were able to find out about this husband in 3 or 4 days. How common is that? Because I'd like to give people a solid understanding of what it's going to cost them and what their expectations of the evidence that's discovered can be in general.
Well, do you want me to discuss specific pricing or
You
our
can certainly
investigative
do
plans?
that. Yeah, you can certainly do that too, but just to kind of give people an idea of what it's going to take money-wise in general and time-wise, and what it's realistic to expect your private investigator that you've retained to do or not do.
Well, in some cases, for example, in the case that I mentioned previously with the lady who felt that she was either going crazy or needed to find out exactly what was going on in her life, we were lucky enough that in 3 to 4 days we were able to come to a logical conclusion with evidence, video evidence, that something was going on. But there's two things in relation to investigations that are important. Number one, you have to be able to prove it. So that would include either documentary evidence or video surveillance, both of which are an art form to obtain. And third, we cannot perform miracles overnight. So sometimes cases will extend, and
But I don't have a lot of money, Juan.
then I can't work with you within your budget. If you feel like you're going to get the service for free, we can't do that, because we are a business. We do have to make money, but at the same time, we can work within a budget and allow you to dictate based on the resources that you do have.
And it's a risk-reward situation,
No
right?
question.
If you only have $500 or something like that, it's like, here's what we can do for $500. And you know what? There's not much we can do for $500. So we'll tell you what we come up with, if anything, for $500. Or we can do this, or we can do that. And I think people need to understand that in order to get something of high quality, you have to be willing to pay a high quality price. That's just the only way it goes. It's not as though you say, oh, we could do this for very little. We just choose to charge extortionate rates. That's not the way it works.
No, it's not.
Like I said, and you can do that. There are plenty of ways. You can buy an inexpensive car, and you get the noise, and you get the handling and the braking and all the thing that goes along with that. You can pay more, and you can get a higher quality. It's the same thing with anything else. More goes in to a Cadillac than a Nissan Versa. That's just the way it goes. So tell us a little bit about, let me suggest that I'm going through a divorce. Is that okay?
Sure.
Let's suggest that I'm going through a divorce, and I am concerned that my spouse is carrying on outside the marriage with somebody else and is also claiming to be disabled. All right, and saying, oh, I can't work, I hurt my neck years ago, or I had an old football injury or something like that. What could, if I came to you saying, I'm really concerned because my spouse is going to claim that he or she doesn't have enough money to pay debts and alimony or child support, and I also want to make sure that if there is going to be alimony awarded and I can show that infidelity is a factor, I really want to do that now, but my spouse is very good at covering his or her tracks. What would you, how would this work? So I've come to your office, what would you do next?
Well, you're talking about a dual investigation here. You're talking about an asset search and possibly venturing into a forensic search. And the other investigations, you want to find out the infidelity aspect of what we're looking at.
Yeah.
So you're talking about a two-pronged investigation. So that's going to require a little bit more resources to accomplish.
Or perhaps a lot.
Or yeah, perhaps a lot more. But in the long run, in order to have a vetted and document-heavy investigation for an attorney like yourself, you're going to want that information, because without documentation, you know, if it's not on paper, or if it's not on video, or not on tape, it didn't happen.
Yeah, if it's not independently verifiable, it's really just a question of your word against mine.
That's correct. And as much integrity as any investigator may have, he may be the greatest investigator in the world, or he may be the very worst investigator. If you have that evidence, you come across as being credible, as opposed to where we're only using innuendo, rumor, or any other kind of evidence that we want to submit in court, which you know as well as I do that it's inadmissible. So that's what we're looking at. And if we can't find the information, or if it looks like an impossible situation, we're not going to carry on and spend the client's money. Just the opposite. We're going to be very honest with them and say, we're at a dead end here. We can't do more than we can do. It would be against our principles and ethics to charge you more money, and rather than go forward and spend money that's not, that you don't have.
Do I have to give you a big retainer that after a while you miraculously say, oh, we used up all your retainer, and oh, doggone it, we weren't able to find anything? So how does that work? Do I pay by the hour? Do I pay up front? Do you do the work and invoice me? How does that work?
We generally ask for a retainer up front, and then we give you a detailed billing, and we can provide you what we have done with the time and the efforts and the evidence that we've been able to uncover up to that point, and provide you that report both from an accounting standpoint and from an evidentiary standpoint.
Well, when I came into the office, I noticed that there wasn't a bottle of gin on the desk. You weren't wearing a fedora and a side holster. You didn't have, Dottie, the bombshell secretary outside or anything like that. So this is kind of a different appearance than I think a lot of people think about. Or they watch, Dog, the bounty hunter, or some of these other kinds of things where they kind of get a different idea. You're nice guys, it looks like. You're approachable. You're someone I can talk to without judgment. Is that part of it, or how?
Well, we pride ourselves on being ethical and on being honest investigators, and that goes back to our law enforcement roots. We want to do the very best job that we can, and we want to be honest and fair about what we do.
Do people come to you and actually don't really have much to go on? There's not a whole lot a private investigator can do, but they think, I'm eager to get something or extract something, so wave your magic private investigator wand and find something like Matlock did or something.
We do get that every once in a while, but realism, and we try to be as realistic and as honest with the client. If we feel like we can't do what they're asking us to do, we will let them know immediately.
What do I do then? Do I just make a call and set an appointment to come in?
Absolutely, we're available. You can reach us at any time, and we're available, and we will provide you with a basic knowledge of what we do and how we do it. And then if you have a budget that you need us to work under, we'll work with you on that budget. But we do require, and like I mentioned before, we have a retainer up front. And we do provide that documentation to you as we go along, so that you feel comfortable where your money's being spent.
I presume that the retainer is simply because you've been burned too many times by people that if you did the work and then asked for payment, they just simply said, oh, gee, I'm bankrupt, or I ran out of money, or I'm disappointed with the work you did. Thank you, by the way, for the documents, but I was disappointed.
Well, we've learned through hard experience that waiting for checks is probably the most difficult, or for payment is one of the most
It's the
difficult
world we
things.
live in, folks, and so yes, you can be dealing with an unscrupulous person, so you gotta be on your guard, but it's not unusual to have to pay a private investigator a retainer up front because they have been burned too many times.
Yes.
If I call to make an initial appointment, is there a fee for that?
No, there's not.
Okay, and how long does that usually last?
We'll talk to you. I mean, it depends on what you have on, what you need,
If I were
what your
talking
needs
in
are.
a family law setting, where it's like, look, I need to just make sure somebody's not making a false claim or hiding assets or having an affair, that sort of thing, how long do you think you'd talk to me?
Oh, we would take a good half hour to 45 minutes to talk to you. If it takes an hour, we'll sit down and talk to you. We're interested in helping you and helping you with your investigative needs, and we're willing to, in good faith, meet with you and listen to what you have to say, and hopefully make a good client out of you, and that you'll pass on our investigative efforts on to your friends and neighbors.
Thanks very much. For those that would be interested in making a call to Panther Investigations, could you give them your contact information?
801-739-7039.
Excellent.
That's our
Thanks
number.
again.
Thank you.